here because what's happening in our lives is we're realizing that religion can't save us. Religion can do nothing for you. And what I mean by that is that, yes, you have Israelite groups that's all out there. Israelites were the deepest out there. I have to tell you that Israelites in Ferguson was the deepest groups. They were the deepest groups. They're at every revolution they're there. So we got to understand our people are the warriors. But they wasn't out there protesting and rioting. They were bringing the word of the Creator. But what is the word of the Creator if it's not being applied? So now we can go out there and quote many scripture verses and say that you are the children of God and rise up. But what are we telling them to rise to? What are we telling them to do? And that's what we have to understand. So going out there, I kind of correlated with this week's portion because there were certain understandings that connected me to this week's portion, and it showed that the Creator has a divine understanding of showing things. And this week in the Hatorah and more, we're dealing with the laws of the priest. And it's funny because what we were teaching out there was the laws of the priest. And I'm going to get into a little bit of that. I'm not going to be long today. But I want you to understand that there's going to be a separation mentally. There were going to be those who want to cling on to religion, and there were going to be those who want to be nationalists. When I was raised up, I was always taught that this is not a religion. It is a way of life, and we are a nation. But in order for you to be a nation, you have to act like a nation. A nation inside of a nation is sovereign inside of the nation that it's in. Because you answer to who? A different nation. So are we a nation or are we a religion? I want to ask that question because for years we've been telling people that we're not a religion. We said we're a nation of God's people. We are the nation of the true Hebrew Israelites, and we are a priestly nation of God's people. If we believe that, then why we do not act as if we are? If we believe that, then why do we accept being slaves? If we believe that, then why do we continue down the path we continue? I want to go to the portion that started Hatorah and more. Keeps a little blessed. And did a portion last week. I chimed in when I had times to and listen in. And the responses are becoming great about what we're doing, and our services is different. And people are listening. And so if you get a chance next week, if you know a friend that stays home, I don't suggest you show somebody that goes to services. We're not trying to promote staying home. That's not what we promote. Sabbath is a day of gathering and coming to collectively and having a holy convocation. But if you know somebody that may not be in the reach of a congregation and don't have a way to congregation, put them on to what we do on Shabbat and help broaden your vision and your dream of what you're trying to build. Let's go to the Hatorah.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah.
We are in the book of Leviticus chapter 21. Book of Leviticus chapter 21. Mayomer Adonai el Moshe, Imon el HaKohanim, B'nei Aharon ve'Amad ha'alehi, V'nefesh lo yitma ba'aman. The Most High said to Moshe, say to the Kohanim, the sons of Aaron, and tell them, each of you shall not contaminate himself with a dead person among his people, except for the relator who is closest to him, to his mother, to his father, to his son, to his daughter, and to his brother, and to his virgin sister who is close to him. Who has not been wed to a man, to her shall he contaminate himself. A husband.
Okay. So now we get laws for the Kohanim. How is this applicable today? Because we have to correlate who we are. We are a priestly nation. Now there's certain things that we are allowed to do by the word of the Creator, but most of our conduct is supposed to be based off of priestly actions. We're supposed to teach these nations. Now, what is a priest? Now, according to the understanding in the European standards, a priest is just someone who speaks the word of the Creator, and that's it. But let us go back to maybe Padam Aram. Let's go to Mesopotamia. Let's go to Egypt. Let's go to all of these places. And you see that your priests and your teachers were the ones who healed you. They were the ones who understood the signs of the heavens. They were the ones who taught you the seasons. They were the ones who taught you medicine. They were the ones who taught you how your body act and perform. These were the jobs and the duties of a priest, because when we went to the nations, we have to give them something that is beneficial for them. Now, the word Kohen, if you look at the word Kohen right there, right? Give the interpretation of it.
To base which supports the people. To put on a special ornaments or garments for a special office or event. A minister and execute a debt and office. Right? Also the group of those who support the community. The priesthood, the priest, the chief, the officers, the president, the house of the creator. That's it.
All right, so now it's giving the officers of those who support the community and those who are the basis of the community. Now we have to understand how important that is, because if you look at the Hebrew, we go to the Kaf, we go to the Hay, we go to the Nun. Our brothers understand the Kaf, it represents what? The hand, which represents submission. The Hay is the divine spirit, the breath. So, and the Nun is growth, and spiritual growth or development. So our Kohen are those who submit to the divine spirit of the Creator for growth in our community. So in our community, we have to understand that there has to be a system that people are obligated to serving the Creator. Because in all governments, initially we have to understand that our governments were based off of what? The priest. There was a priest before there was a king. There was a priest before there was a Levitical priest. You cannot remove the understanding of having priestly people in your family to do the will of the Creator and set them aside for building up, because their submission is supposed to be solely to the Creator. Right. And these are the things that we have to realize as a people. So now, why is it imperative to understand what we're talking about today when we're dealing with the priestly nation? Because we are supposed to be a priest unto the nation that God says. And I brought today, understanding some paperwork of the US UCC, which is the, what does that stand for? Uniform Commercial Code, right? And in this article, it says it's based on scripture. Now, I want you to listen to certain things, because there was an understanding and a teaching that we did out there, and it was a lot of research that was taken involved inside of it for us to prove a message or give a message to our people, because now the message has to be different. It has to fit the time, right? So in the time of a revolution or revolt, or us feeling zealous about what we're doing and becoming on our own, we have to have something, because the Creator deals with cycles and it's based on the revolution and the redemption of our people. And that's why we on our counting of the Omer, because this is also the time after we were delivered from Egypt. Now, it says this country was founded by seemingly sincere Christians, right? So the American common law is based on the laws set forth by God in the Holy Bible, and are supported by all case laws that have been decided in our history. Article 3, Section 2, the organic constitution defines the kind of judicial power that courts have: common law, equity, admiralty, and maritime, which deals with commerce, right? It says in American common law, a criminal is an act which produces a victim, right? Right. So a crime exists only when there is a victim, which actually damaged, like a broken arm. If a cop damages you, there is a crime because you are a victim. Now, one thing I found out this week is that the cops are kind of almost not a government entity. They are a nonprofit organization. Anybody ever heard that? Yeah. The cops are connected, they're side hand in hand with a nonprofit organization. So when you see cops getting off for certain laws, it's because they're not governed by the same laws you are. So when you're looking for them to be convicted, the only reason why they'll be indicted is because it has to be one of their peers to indict them. They don't have to appear to any court unless their peers do it, and their peers will do it if they're trying to either calm a situation or tame it down. Perfect example, and we'll get to it, but let's continue. So now it's saying a crime dealing with the common law is only crime that the American government really has over you is if you victimize somebody. You hurt somebody, you destroy something of theirs, then there is some jurisdiction over you. So we have to be very cautious. And I'm not teaching that you just stop everything. That's not what I'm doing. You can also ask, well, say, why are you not doing this? Because sovereignty is a group effort. You could be a one-man sovereign all you want, you'll be looking stupid. I'm cutting myself off of the system. I can't support myself, can't do this, can't do that, this, that. You have to establish a nation, which we say we are, right? All right. Now, equity, we deal with equity, we deal with the maritime and admiralty, but I want you to realize what this is UCC. All birth certificate, licenses, registration, insurance, bank accounts, permit, titles, deeds, etc. are commercial contracts. So common law, all of these equity, that's all commercial, right? So these are commercial contracts created under the UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. And these artificial persons, now this is in the UCC, is a what? A fake person. What's artificial? They're not real. Who's the fake person they're talking about? Or who the actions are being brought against? Not you, the sovereign American national, but the storefront. Most people do not know that the commercial law cannot regulate private dealings between civilians, much less where to draw the line. Now, it's imperative that we understand that because it's called a straw man, if anybody understands. A straw man is just what they create to represent you. Now, let's go to Deuteronomy 7:3. Now, what are these things? You got your birth certificate. We can create our own birth certificate, right? Our licenses, registration, insurance, bank accounts, permits, titles, deeds, etc. Go ahead to we can start Deuteronomy 7:1.
With Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 1. When the Most High your power will bring you to the land to which you come to possess it, and he will thrust away many nations from before you, the Hittite, the Gershonite, the Amorite, the Canaanite, the Perizzite, the Hivite, and the Jebusite, 7 nations greater and mightier than you. And the Most High your power will deliver them before you, and you will smite them, and you shall utterly destroy them, and you shall not seal a covenant with them, nor shall you show them favor. You shall not intermarry with them. You shall not give your daughter to his son, and you shall not take his daughter for your son. For he will cause your child to turn away from after me, and they will worship the gods of others. All right. So there's cause and effect to everything, right? So the Creator gives us a law, and now we have to understand the effect that's taking place because the Creator gave us a specific law. He gave us a specific law, and it's dealing with the Canaanites, right? But could we apply it to today? Yeah. Is it applicable today? It needs to be, it has to be, or it doesn't have anything to do with you. So when we look at it, the Almighty says, and you cannot prove the Torah wrong because the Torah will stand regardless to what you believe. Rather, your emotions can take hold of you and make you feel in a way that you may understand something that's so deep, but the Torah stands so strong that the effects is going to happen regardless whether you believe in the Lord or not. So it says, 1, do not make covenants. What's a covenant? Agreement, a contract, a deal, right? Right. All right. It says, do not marry them, right? It tells them, don't give your sons and daughters to them because there's an effect. What happens to the effect? That you may what? Lose your sons and daughters, and they might waver in law. So most of us who are contracted into this belief system that this country, America, that they have rulership over a place that they never even founded before. We believe in this stuff because we still believe that Columbus discovered America and there was nothing here, right? Because we have to believe that in order for them to have jurisdiction over you. That's what you have to believe. So now, when you look at it, we say that the Creator is showing us that we are losing our children, are we? Right. We are losing our children at a great scale because we have not listened to one of the sacred commandments of being in the midst of other nations. You have to follow this. Now, what are one of the things, and I will show you a video. I want to show it next week. I got to get permission from the brother because there's a video I want you to see. It talks about sovereignty, right? Now, if you
See, the difference now, we have to start believing in this word and take it to another level. Because if we continue to do the same thing, we're going to have the same results. So now we're going to have to say, you know what? I believe in the Torah. And I stand by the Torah. This is what you have to say to yourself. I stand by the Torah wholeheartedly. It took Moses the strength to go before Pharaoh and said that we are devoted to the Creator and you need to let our people go. He had to say, we ain't under you. We are God's people. And this is what happened in our Passover. You got to understand, liberation comes. It says sovereignty, right? And I'll just put that there. Leviticus, the 20th chapter, the 26th verse, it says, you are holy to me. I, the Lord, am holy. I have set you apart from the nations to be my own. So who are you? Holy, right? You're the creators. Isn't it the same thing that Moses was telling Pharaoh? He was like, yo, these are God's people. These are God's people. These are not your people. Let them go so they can sacrifice unto me. So we have to say that whose people are we? We are the Creator's people, and these people have no jurisdiction over us unless you give it to them. This is in their own codes. If you want to study the UCC code, please do. Please do. Because it's going to take us as a group to say what? We're going to be our own nation inside of a nation because we're the nation of Israel. And if you say you're the nation of Israel, and the Creator tells you in the book, let's continue to go, and this is inside of their codes. Now, this is verses I'm not picking out the blue. It says Psalm 69:8-9, King James Version said, I am become a stranger unto my brothers, and an alien unto my mother's children. For the zeal of thine house have eaten me up, and reproaches of them that reproach thee and fallen upon me. All right? So we stop right there. So he says, I am a stranger and an alien. Now, amongst my brothers, what does this mean? What does this mean? David was loved in some aspects, right? But according to them, it says, and my zeal of thy house has eaten me up. So now he's so zealous that the people that's trying to oppress him or come against him are hating against him. So he's saying, I am foreign, alien. He's saying, I'm set aside. And the reason why I put this down here too, because this, you're covered under this act, Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act. And I'm not saying that this, I want you to do research. That's all we can do. Somebody can say, hey brother, you was wrong with that. But a lot of times that doesn't happen here. It doesn't. A lot of times somebody may disagree and just don't say nothing. If you disagree, let's talk about it. Foreign Sovereign Immunity Act. Look it up. Now the Foreign says if you're foreign and you're a foreigner from a different place, you're not under American jurisdiction. You just have to abide by constitutional laws. That's all. The constitutional laws are what? Mostly Torah laws. They're based off of, we just showed you the UCC, based off of the Bible, the scriptures, on what they're written in that. So this foreign act, and there's other verses, they're using in their writing scriptorial verses. That's how they got jurisdiction over you, because they're using your Bible wittier than you use your own Bible. They're using your Bible against you. And you saying that I'm the true people, but I'm still going to follow what you're saying. But they're saying they're the true people. Let's go to the next clip. All right. Reason why Catholic priests sexually abuse children, right? It's an article. Look at this article. The distortion of clericalism and triumphalism are deep in the psyche of the intuitions even to this day. These taught, institutions even to this day, these taught that priests were untouchable and subjects to no human laws, only canon laws. Canon laws of what? To the gullible laity, and whatever father said was strictly true. So they're answering to a higher priest, right? So do you ever understand why the priests don't get arrested? And they're American citizens, aren't they? They're Americans because they're what? A priest unto the nations. They use the script, they're a priest unto the nations. They, archdiocese or archbishop has to be the one who chastised them. They can't be chastised because they're under the Bible. So why the European is able to take your book and use it, and you don't even think to use the book to raise you up a nation? The same thing, we go through this, the Amish people, all of these people, they use it, they're protected under the Foreign Sovereign Immunities Act. This is what they're protected under. Because even if they can't prove biologically that they're the Hebrew Israelites, just them believing in the Bible and following the Bible makes them not under the jurisdiction of this government. When the last time you've been in court or seen a rabbi in court? You're not. And if you did, somebody gave them up. You're not going to see a priest. And in the video, it's the brother Hatorah. And it happened 2 months ago. And I'm a living witness of these brothers doing this, man. And in some ways, it may not be the best view of things or looking right, but the brothers are just hanging out there, doing what they do, enjoying themselves. One of the brothers out there had some wine, right? Cop says, "Oh, can I talk to you for a minute?" The brother says, "Give me a second, I'll be with you 1 minute." And he saw me, and he's like, okay. And then the video, he's going on talking to the brother. He said, "Oh, give me 1 second. I told you I'll be with you 1 second. Did I tell you? Okay, calm down." So he's talking to the brother, and he says, "Who are?" And so Hatorah at the meeting says, "Who are you?" He says, "I'm Officer such and such." He said, "Well, I'm Priest Hatorah." That's not his title. But he says, "I'm Priest Hatorah, which is the general. I'm Priest the general." So he said, "Well, you know you're violating law." He says, that's an administration law. I said, "I'm not under these laws. I am a priest." What don't you understand? So they're going back and forth. The cops are pissed off. They're angry. They this and that, but they can't touch him. They can't touch him. And I couldn't understand it. So the thing is, don't try this. That's not what I'm saying. It has to be brothers that's in the midst of us that really study it and they're able, so we can start producing our own community. You know, under the Foreign Sovereignty Act, what removes you from the act is if you're receiving federal funds. As soon as you receive federal funds, you're cut out of that. You have to get off. So what does that say? That is telling you got to have what? Your own businesses. See, but that's scary for most of us because doing law seems too much like liberation. Because if you do the law, you have to understand if you follow the law, we would break out of this system. We would have broke out of this system generations ago because the law is that serious. But we have to be able to believe in it. All right. Go ahead, back to the portion.
Verse 4. A husband among his people shall not contaminate himself to one who desecrates him.
All right, so what I want to support from this is that there has to be some kind of system where we have a spiritual foundation. The Kohen, right? It said base or foundation. That was one of the interpretations we read. Now, the problem with Hebrew Israelite communities is we don't have a base or a foundation. We do not have spiritual teachers that support our groups. Because guess what? It says submission to the divine spirit. Our leaders, our classes, we're submitting to something else. Just in case in point, the American system, they set up their foundation, which is the government. They have a governing body that's supported, right? You would never have liberation without a governing body. And that governing body has to have time to do what? Govern the people. And we read that the week before last. If you're a carpenter, be a carpenter. You this, you do that. But don't be a judge, don't be a leader, don't be this and that, because you don't have the time. You don't have the time for our people. So this is what we have to set up. We have to establish this in our community because it's very imperative. It's imperative that we have these things. So we see that the root word of Kohen, or and it mentions leaders too, the definition of Kohen. We see also Kohen mentioned in the book of Chronicles when it was talking about David's son. So we don't always have to talk about Levitical priests, but you're talking about a spiritual system. This is why Israel, here goes a bell ringer, doesn't have spirituality. We don't. Speak about it. I want you to understand it. Do you know that people, when they want to improve their life, they go to other systems, or they go talk to, oh, I need counseling, I'm going to go to a counselor, or I go to all of this stuff, because there is no spirituality in our groups, because we don't focus on developing spirituality. It's common sense. So when we're talking to the people, we can give them religion. We can give them religion. But it's not going to do anything. You remember the movie Field of Dreams? It said, if you build it, they will come.
Right.
That's a message to you.
Right.
If there was one Israelite group here that had established and created a governing body that went to a city or a town and built their own community, do you know how many people will flood to that community? Tons of people. If you build it, they will come. People want refuge. And other people say, well, I'm getting out the country. That's okay, because there's some people that need to get out the country. But there's going to be people that's not going to leave the country. Try doing some of this stuff over there in Cuba. Sue the government. You might not see your court date till you're about to die. But they give you this is the only place where you're getting a little room for liberation. They even tell you how to get out their system. But most of us don't want to get out. We stuck in here. And what we do, we start to shun stuff like this. Oh, that don't have nothing to do with that. No, we can't be free in this land. We can't do this, we can't do that. But that's the same thing Jesse Jackson and Al Sharpton tell us. They're the same ones pushing the idea of vote. You know what they did in the marches out in Baltimore? They turned it into a vote rally. I mean, it was a massive crowd. And this is what they saying, vote for such and such. I was like, oh, now y'all still voting in the system? I remember one day I was talking to Murray and Ryan. I told him, like, yeah, I'm going to vote for Obama because I think he's going to increase some things for school and food stamps. Yeah, we're going to get all of this. You know, he looked at me like I was crazy. But I aided a criminal. You know what I'm saying? I helped a criminal be a part of the system because we still believe that the system was going to deliver us somehow, and maybe he could be this. You know, you never thought. He came from the bottom, now he here. So we started making up all of these reasons to believe that the system was going to deliver us. This is your system. But he was like, and they was like, one Baltimore, let's do it for the elders. One Baltimore, let's do it for the youth. One Baltimore, let's do it for the couples. One Baltimore, let's do it for the men. One Baltimore, let's do it for the women. One Baltimore, let's do it for the transgender. And I had to leave. And they were just holding their hands, and they were ready to. It was just chaotic because they are still caught in the system. And best believe you're going to feel the same way, and your children are going to be having the same question with you. I don't see nothing wrong with homosexuality. They will. Watch, they're going to say the same thing. They're going to say the same thing because you're not seeing it now. It's worse than it was before. You know, when you was gay back in the days, you lied to the tabloid. That wasn't me. There's somebody put my face on there. I wasn't out with this guy. You was ashamed of it if you was. Not nowadays. Not nowadays. And I don't know if y'all seen it. What's the guy name? Young Thug, all of them. Every rapper got their nails done now, long acrylic nails. They wear makeup. They wear spandex and skirts. And heels. Now, man, sometimes we're not attached to this, so we don't see it as much, but sometimes I gotta dip in there and see what the kids talking about. I gotta listen to the song. They sung the song to me the other day. I was like, yo, this is crazy. This is what y'all singing in junior high school? And you don't even want to know the words. But it's becoming, so now, let's say that the song is catchy, right? The song is catchy. You start jamming to it. You're not going to differentiate between whether he's gay or not. Initially, you're going to accept it. It happened. What's the guy named Sam Smith? His song's Love the Chain. I turned 5 seconds into the song. You gotta get a sample of it. And on every song. But why? Because somewhat we're building up a slight acceptance for this stuff that's going on. Because we're here. And we are evolving and adapting to accepting things that are against the Creator. And if you have children inside of this community, they will accept it too. They will. They will. We have to go to our own. We have to go to our own. After the song they told me about everybody singing, man, we got to pull them out. Or we got to save them. Amen. We have to save them. It's just going to take strong people. It's going to take those that's willing to stand up against these people. I seen one of the brothers, the Divine Prospect, was with me. He was taking footage, and somebody threw a brick at the National Guard's head. Knocked him upside his helmet. It knocked him upside his helmet. Boom, boom, boom. And holding his head. They didn't do nothing. They didn't do nothing because they set you up. The cops are the one that's doing the dirty work. The military just did something drastic happen. You know what I mean? They just make you scared. So they're not going to cross. They're not going to cross over. But you have to understand that something is coming. The Most High give us signs, right? And you've been pondering why is this stuff going on? And in Israel, the Philistine Jews are going crazy. Yeah. The Hebrews all over are rebelling. Yeah. Everybody got, let's go back to Israel. It's better than Israel. Ask the philosophers. They tell you that's not true. Most racism I ever experienced in my life was amongst Jewish people. I was in Baltimore, and I went to a synagogue to get some food. And I sat there, so the lady let her young boy come up there. What's that on your arm? Why do you have that? I mean, the boy is 5 years old. She must have told him to ask me this. So he's like, why you have that on your arm? I said, because I like it. I mean, I was going to get it so long. And then she said, I think stop being so curious, son. I think he's asking, why do you have Jewish ornaments on you? I said, because I like Torah. And that was it. I like Torah. I'm not going to get into a debate with you, a discussion with you, and then you tell me you want to start speaking Hebrew, and then I don't know Hebrew. You say, ha, I got you, you ain't real. I'm not trying to get caught up in them games. But that's all they want to do. They want to see how real you are. And that's what they ask you, where's your community at? And you be like, well, we got a community. It's kind of like a community. What school do your child go to? Oh, they go to Columbus High School. Oh, so you get the kids not in a yeshiva? Oh, I'm so sorry for you. I mean, this how they look upon you. But you don't teach your own? Okay. Where's your business? We don't have a business. We work for everybody else. No? Oh, okay. And you know what they in their mind? Oh, y'all got a long way to go. We good. We good. We can continue this life. And that's what they're saying to themselves. We can continue this life. They know who they are, but that's all they know. I mean, it's like if they was to start a TV show and just film Hebrew Israelites, the Jews would donate to us. Because they would be crying. They would think this is the most exciting, entertaining, and sad thing I've ever seen in my life. I had the privilege to one of my brothers, I bought him a Tanakh for his birthday, and a Kumash, it was Kumash. And he said, man, this is the first Bible I ever owned. And he said, this at 22 years old. Now, if you was Jewish, you would have had it at the age of 1. Yeah, at 1, you would have been studying all of this stuff. But then they would have cried when they hear these things that's been going on. When they see our Torahs on the seat, that means we don't respect it. When they see the way we treat each other, that means we don't respect one another. Now, I don't care about their racism sometimes, because at least they're so for themselves. I like people that are for themselves. Whether you plan, whether you whatever, at least you can get something done in your community. Care about your family. I support you. Support your own. So don't tell me about the Jews, oh, they privileged. Then I tell you about the clans, and you're gonna tell me, well, they're white. I'm gonna tell you about the Muslims where they worship before. You're gonna make an excuse why everybody else has unity and why you don't. Well, God wants it this way. When it's the Lord's time, we'll come together. Make up your mind and do the Lord's will, and then come together and build what you have to build, and stop making excuses, because our excuses is the reason why we're in this situation. It only takes all of us to say, we want a school, and the school will happen. Amen. You don't even need a building for a school. Somebody told you that we got to invest in the building, we got to invest in books. No, you can use somebody's phone and educate the people in the park.
That's right.
I mean, if you were really serious about what we were doing, but there's always an excuse why we can't do these things. Why we can't. When we talked about the Hippocratic Oath a year ago, and I showed you that when people became doctors in the United States of America, they had to take an oath to Greek gods. Right? But that was offensive to people because some people are just stagnated in this way and they're going to make it and have to make it. This is what we got to do to survive. No, what you got to do to survive is the Torah. If the Torah is not based off of survival, then it's not a necessity for our people. So if people can survive outside of the laws, then why would they want the Torah? It's because our survival is the Torah. And that's why we don't have anything, because we're not practicing the law to the best of our ability. We're not establishing a foundational system which teaches the law to our people. Even the word "and more" today, when you look at it, it talks from the aleph. The aleph means to teach or to strengthen. Then you have the mem, which means the force, the might to the mind, or the wave to teach. You have to teach them strongly. It's just not say the word of the law. You have to keep on bringing it to them until they understand the fullness of the law, until they embody the law, until they engulf the law and they know the law and they know why they're doing the law. Because the law, if you don't understand it, then sometimes you won't do it to the best of your ability because it doesn't relate to you. There is a purpose for everything that we do here, and we have to start explaining and expounding and going into in-depth things in order for our people to become better. And there was a new group of people that is going to stand against society. They're going to say, you know what, I don't care if I get locked up. I don't care if this happens. You know, and these are some of the things that we really have, because we may critique them. I hear Israelites saying, well, why are they out there rioting? We need to this and that, or why are they out there doing this and that? And I understand all the worries and concerns, but them people are our future, and their rebellion is what's going to get us back to the land. Them standing up for what they believe in. We always have an excuse. Let's do what we're supposed to do as a sovereign nation, because God tells you his people. Not because they have to tell you, oh, why the Jews don't say you the true Hebrew Israelites. Who cares what the Jews say, is what God says. And when I know I'm a Hebrew Israelite, we are untouchable, and we always will be untouchable. This is something that we have to practice and we have to understand. This is not just a book. We're not here for sermons. We're just not here to either wait for the sun to go down and go back to doing mundane things. You're supposed to leave here with the zeal to do something to build your nation. Amen. And this is what you have to do. We have to understand how powerful and important it is for our community. And sometimes the power is in our sisters, because our sisters deal from a social aspect. They deal from the community aspect. They know what community is about. Men are more about self. It's just natural. They're protective of their group, while the women are the social building the community. And what we do is sometimes we suppress our sisters, and when we suppress our sisters, we suppress our growth. Because if you look in the minds, and you can deal in our system, in our group today, if you survey the women have a bunch of ideas. And if they were allowed to just run free within this community or be larger, but it's sometimes our egos that get in the way, because ideas or people's views are different than other brothers' views. But that's not me. That's not how I feel. It's not about you. It's never been about you. It's about the group. It's about collectiveness. It's about us coming together. Each man is a part of something that is greater for us. So your part is going to be your part. Their part is going to be their part. But together we need it to move forward. So when you go and talk about to the people in the rebellion and they out there protesting, next time you tell them, come with me. I got a community. This is what you can tell them. They say, how do we stop all of this violence against us? My children are dying. My son got shot. Another person got shot this morning. You know that? The same person in Baltimore, 2 days later, after I left, another person got shot in Baltimore. Nobody knows who shot him. Everybody looking around like, but people are getting shot. It doesn't matter, because it's not going to stop. It ain't for it to stop. It's the time when Moses will stand up and ready to bury the Egyptian in the sand for his brother and get on and move out and get out and build their own. Yeah. And that's what that book is talking about. So when people are dying, you have an answer for them, because right now you don't have an answer. You have a religion. When we move out of religions, that's when the answer comes. So if we're talking about it, we want to be about it, you want something for your children, we can play the political games and disagree with each other until we do nothing. Or we can sit here and say, it ain't about me, let's build. What you got? That sounds good. That's bringing people in. What I got to do something, I can work over here and do this. Let's come on, brothers. Let's do this. Let's build. That's the attitude you should have. And then till you can't tell me, and I won't allow you to say nationalism. I won't allow you to say way of life. You can trick it up the way you want to. It's a religion. And when you say Hebrew Israelite, I'm going to say, I respect your religion. I just do. I respect your religion. But as I read, I become more and more understanding that this system doesn't have, and the Creator says, you shall be a priest unto the nations. And we just read that's the foundation. Our book is the foundation of this nation. He just told you, it's not a coincidence. Everywhere you go, they got your rules and regulations you can't even stand by. You can't even stand by because we scared. That's what it is. It's fear. It's fear. How many of us scared to be arrested? Don't lie. I try to put my hand up so y'all can say, go good, yeah, you know. But people are scared to be arrested. Nobody want to be locked up. Nobody want to be locked up, but guess what? There's a time where it's going to come where we're going to have to strategize. And even when you strategize, some people are going to get arrested. They are. It's just whatever it is. I watched the KOY. The KOY bullied themselves in Israel. In the most racist place on the planet, they bullied themselves in Israel. And not saying follow or jump on, but I'm saying whatever you believe in, you can do. They have rules against you. Look up the Dumb Diversers Act.
What?
Dumb Diversers.
Dumb?
Dumb. D-U-M-D-I-V-E-R-S-A-S. It's an act that one of the popes called against us Hebrews. And it was the Hebrews that were already in America before it started. And it was a war waged against them. So the Pope put this in place. Do you understand? So when you talk about even the Moors being expelled out of England or Europe, it was against us. I mean, I don't want you to get it twisted. The original popes was us. The popes that was selling us and hurting us in the beginning was us. See, when you do your brother wrong, that's how somebody else can creep up in there and take over your system and capitalize on it. Continue.
Verse 5. They shall not make a bald spot on their head, and they shall not shave an edge of their beard, and in their flesh they shall not cut again.
All right, so there is no, our priestly system is different. Even though it correlates with many African priest systems, you see there's a correlation with different aspects of Yoruba, Hebrewism, all this. Ours is different because there's certain practices we don't do. We're not cutting our face. We're not marring our head. We're not scarring ourselves. We're not doing none of this. Our priests should not look like a nation. They're supposed to look like the pureness of the Creator and be a representation of the Creator. And this is what we have to be mindful of. I mean, I see it today. I see it all day. You see the young brothers and sisters walking around with tattoos on their face now. Pretty sisters walking around with tattoos on their face. Now, my question is, what if you change your mind? What if you just say, oh, I don't like that no more? Because the Creator wants you in the purest aspect that He gives you. Anything. He says, bind this law upon your hand. It should be a sign. You can have ornaments, but you can take them off. You can take them off. But don't put it on you that you can't change. The Creator shows us and He gives us the ability that we are this priestly nation. Continue.
They shall be holy to their Elohim, and they shall not desecrate the name of their power.
All
For
right.
the fire offering to the Most High, the food of their power they offer, so they must remain holy.
So the desecration is talking about is becoming what? Unclean or defiled.
Right.
So if we're doing things that's in the midst of uncleanliness, then we are defiling and desecrating the Creator because we are set aside people. So now we have to make areas or even try to find things that we can do that's not in violation of Torah, because once we violate Torah, once we defile ourselves, we are a desecration of the Creator. Once we call ourselves by high esteem and you are the high priest or you are something of the Creator, you are a leader and teacher amongst the community, but you clean toilets, you have desecrated the name because you have put the highest court and the highest position in the world underneath into servitude. We have to be very careful.
Right.
if we send it to the nations, how you think that it's going to work where the man that's cleaning the toilet going to rise up and say, thus saith the Lord, and they're going to look at him like, this is what you had your man, this is what you call your leader? We have to build up our community. Our elders at 60, 70, 50 years old don't have no reason working for no Gentile. We have to figure out quick what we're going to do. Our elders, you know what happened to elders? They're bad boys at a certain age. They bag stuff up in the store. Do you think that we should sit down and figure out something how to support our own people? So our elders can be supported. They don't go nowhere. We raise them up. We take our time. So what if they're losing their thoughts or they don't have everything that they used to or you tired of taking care of? That's our parents. That's our respect. And this is what we have. This is why we have the brothers, the Hatorah, and all of these things where we bury in our own. Because even if as much respect we got to show when they're here on the earth, we show that same respect when they leave here. And that's what we got to believe in. We went there and we had the privilege to bury one of our leaders. And that was Chief Salim's album. And the way they treat other bodies is disrespectful. It's just disrespectful. It's like, yo, they don't have no respect. When are we going to understand? So last week we talked about giving birth. We're going to start having births in the house, right?
Yeah.
Nobody's scared. Nobody talking about that. Nobody talking about that. But we can try it, and we're going to do it. Because there's other people that look just like you, they do. And they call on different deities. But they believe in their little deity so much, they said they just open it and it comes out. So we can take that step. We have sisters. I got a few emails that sisters are going to help the work, and now it's going to help us understand how to be a midwife, how to be a birth doula. And truly, that's not my job. The sisters should be on it. The sisters should be on it. I mean, I know brothers that we go as far as our wife can't have a male doctor. That's as far as we go. And some brothers nowadays don't even care. But we have to separate. It's a sacredness of our mothers now. So we want everybody that's dealing with us in certain aspects to be dealing with Torah. I mean, come on now. You know the first thing they do is when you have a baby, they put it in an incubator. You know what that does? It slows up your process of being able to heal and fight diseases. Yeah. This is what it does, a trick. You never asked them why they got your baby in the incubator? You never thought that maybe that's not natural? You ever thought that? Your baby needs the lights. Well, where's this at? Since when? Give me the day and year that this started happening when this was a necessity for a baby to survive. Ask questions. You'll be appalled. Continue.
They shall not, verse 7, they shall not marry a woman who is a harlot or has been desecrated. And they shall not marry a woman who has been divorced by her husband, for each one is holy to his house.
All right, so now it's talking about who the priest is, verse 7, right? Verse 7. Who the priest can marry, right?
Right.
I want you to understand this. It's imperative who the priest can marry, because now we figured out when it said the Kohen, they talk about submission to the divine spirit. This is their job. That's their only job, right? Because you can't have two jobs when you work with doing the job of the Creator and doing the spiritual upliftment for the people. So their focus. Now here comes another part that has the same result if you don't listen. Because guess what? If the person is working for the Creator or trying to build up a community and has another job of doing certain things, he can't do it to the best of his ability. So what else would hinder a man from doing his job to the best of his ability? Is marrying a woman that's either divorced or that's go ahead, give us a list. The divorce.
A harlot,
a zola,
been desecrated,
or
and married. That's it.
Okay, let's go to so let's deal with the harlot.
Right.
Now, the priest may say, I didn't give me a harlot. She wasn't selling nothing. But then our understanding, our terminology, that's not what a harlot is. Let's go to Deuteronomy, the 22nd chapter, the 20th verse. Deuteronomy
22,
the 20th verse.
20th verse. And it reads on this wise. But If this matter was true, signs of virginity were not found in the girl, then they shall take the girl to the entrance of her father's house, and the people of a city shall cut her with stones, and she shall die. For she had committed an outrage in Israel to commit adultery in her father's house, and you shall remove the evil from your midst.
All right. So I want to touch on that, but let's say that we don't have a law in America. We have a law in America about children sleeping around.
Yeah, 18.
No, I'm saying sleeping around.
No.
We don't have no law. We don't have no law in America for that. What about adultery? You might suffer a few financial setbacks if you're legally married.
Actually, it was a law on adultery still in force, it's just not being enforced.
All right, it's not being enforced. So what happens if you have a society where none of this is being penalized? Outrageous community is what we have here. So we may not be able to help our daughters with stones in our own community, right? But we'll be able to do some disciplinary actions that'll make our daughters want to stay wholesome. So we understand that a zoner or a harlot that the Bible speaks about is not just somebody who is selling their body for money, but it's also somebody who is giving it up without their parents' permission. Right. So you as a priest, you cannot even have somebody who secretly slept with somebody and nobody knows, because we do that in this community a lot now. Because there is no repercussion. See, we try to allow the government system to do this. As soon as you beat your daughter, you say, I beat her. What happened to Creflo Dollar when his daughter came in at 2 o'clock, he beat her? They locked him up. Because they're not going to allow you to chastise your children. So our daughters, this was an important thing. They said you will be stoned now. So if I was you, you know that the repercussion of violating the Creator's law is something that's detrimental upon your spirit, because the Most High said the secret things belong unto Him. So if we don't know about it, the Creator is going to pay you for it. Right? He's going to pay you for it. So you think about it. So how you doing? The book says, do not make harlots out of the daughters of Zion. That's that same word. We say, I'm not selling my daughter. And we go back again and say, it's not about selling your daughter. It's about letting her be Dina.
Talk about it.
You said, what about being Dina? Oh, she get to hang out with the girls. What girls? Her friends in school. She get to hang out with who? Because I don't think you asked, but all your daughter's friends from the age of 13 and 12, 11, they're all sexually active. So who is she hanging out with? Oh. Not my daughter. My daughter, she's gonna hold it down. That's not how it works. Most God tells you in the book, he said, how can two walk unless they agree? So your daughter says, yeah, they sleeping around, but I don't do that. So that's supposed to be a detestable thing. You're supposed to be like, I'm not hanging with y'all, y'all nasty. What you mean, girl? We just, no, we doing our thing, we just having fun. We just doing our thing, and that's how it is. Because it's nothing now. It is nothing. I want you to see, the songs that you hear on the radio, they're all about sex. It's flooding our children's mind how to be perverted and how to carry on this nasty heritage that this nation has given us. You say, well, my kids don't do that. They watch Disney. Oh, well, they got coded sexual symbolisms in Disney. They getting symbolic sex and don't even know it. Why would they put sex in Disney movies? Have you watched cartoons recently? No. They're not for kids. Not one cartoon is for kids. And this is the thing we gotta understand. So now he says, the word they use for desecrated, right, is kalal. Now the Hebrew word for kalal, if you read interpretations, is common, or pierced, or penetrated. So you can't even get a daughter that wasn't married, but she got penetrated, or common means that she's been around. So the English interpretation is desecrated. So our sisters have to be very, very careful of who you choose. Matter of fact, who your family choose, because you can't choose nobody on your own. So let me stop putting thoughts in your head. You could be desecrated and walk around with a curse and have mom's ears coming out the womb, but that's your choice. But in the righteous family, you have to understand that there's laws that you have to follow. So now there's a desecration in it when you have multiple partners or when you're doing these things. And not saying that you can't bounce back if you have changed your life. But if you know the truth, don't go that route and just say, I'm going to bounce back now. Yeah, I'm going to slip off a little bit. I'll come back up. That's not acceptable. That repentance ain't acceptable. It's not accepted by the Creator. How can you come and bring these vain offerings? You already knew what you was going to do. Now, I want to go to the next. Let's go to the next slide. I'm going to kind of speed through it. There's a few things I wanted to touch on. I wanted to touch on the Shavuot that's coming up and just get into a little deeper meanings of it. But I didn't want to go too much into deep stuff today. I'm trying to keep it simple. All right. Oxytocin. And before you start reading all of this, anybody know what oxytocin is? All right. Oxytocin is a chemical that's released by men and women, and it's released in women 3 or 4 times in their life. Can anybody name these times? Oxytocin is known as the bonding hormone. Breastfeeding.
First time?
Huh? First time, second time, last time, third time? Huh? Yeah, skin to skin, love it, bonding. Women release it, and also when they give birth. So what is it, a bonding hormone? It makes them connected to that person. So when the woman nurses, she's feeling the bond. You ever heard women say, I'm bonding with my baby? You know, that's because the oxytocin is being released. When she sleeps with a man, there's oxytocin. Anybody remember old saying that when you sleep with somebody, there's spirits involved? Yeah. So So today I wanted you to understand. I wanted to go into a deeper scientific aspect so you can understand on the physiological aspect how we can interplay spirits with today instead of just it being a saying. You're like, oh, my grandma told me. Well, where your grandma get that from? I don't know. She just told me. All right. So let's play around with it and show you what happens. All right. Recent studies have begun to investigate the oxytocin's role in various behaviors, including orgasm, sexual recognition, pair bonding, anxiety, and maternal behaviors. For this reason, it is sometimes referred to as the bonding hormone. There is some evidence that oxytocin promotes ethnocentric behavior, incorporating the trust and empathy of in-groups with the suspicion of rejecting outsiders. I want you to keep that in mind, right? There is some evidence that oxytocin promotes ethnocentric behavior, incorporating the trust and empathy of in-groups. That means your surrounding group, right? In-groups with the suspicion and the rejection of outsiders. Furthermore, genetic differences in the oxytocin receptor genes have been associated with maladaptive social traits such as aggressive behavior. All right, so now they're just saying that when you bond and come close to something, now you become a woman or a man become more aggressive when they have it. You know, a woman, if her baby is trapped under a car, she'll pick that car up. You've seen that, right? A woman, the Most High give them the strength. The drillers start rushing. They flip the car up, pick their baby up, and you walk like you looking at her like, what did she just do? And she got superhuman for that baby. So why did I touch that? Because ethnocentric. Let's go to the next one. All right, ethnocentric. I want you to. Ethnocentric is almost like a term of saying my way is better, or my understanding is better, and the way you judge everybody else's culture or custom is really based off of your understanding or how you do things, which is unfair. Let's go. Ethnocentrism is judging another culture solely by the values and standards of one's own culture. Ethnocentric individuals judge other groups relative to their own ethnic group or culture, especially when concerning for language, behavior, custom, and religion. Now, most of us, we see this when we deal with people from India, right? They feel they're better than you, right? Asians, you think they think they're better than you? Most people are ethnocentric. But why is this ethnocentric correlated with a bonding hormone, oxytocin, that's dealing with a relationship that a woman becomes with a man? Because most of the time when a woman sleeps with a man, she takes on his ideas and views, and these views and ideas become her own. So much so that when she goes into another outsider, another man, which is foreign to her, she rejects his values and his views because she's still accustomed to the old relationship and the views that she has that she's subjected under. Anybody understand what I just said?
Yeah.
All right. When a woman goes into the next relationship, even if it was an abusive relationship, she still values the views of the person she was with, and it trumps the person that she's with now. So when you say spirits, it's more so dealing with the oxytocin that's built up, that connected the woman to that individual. So it's dangerous for women to have many sex partners because it'll confuse her, because her loyalty is all over the place and her value system is polluted and messed up with different understandings. And that's why when you read the portion that the priest, right? The priest is a difference between the priest and the high priest. And one thing about the priest is he can marry a widow. I mean, he out the picture. Ain't no drama, no baby daddy drama, nothing. He's dead? Yeah, okay, you can come in. It's a difference because that'll cause so much confusion and you're dealing with it, and there's a battle inside the house. A man who's serving the Creator or leading in a leadership position doesn't have the ability or doesn't have the room to go home and have conflict in the house and don't have time to focus on his goal, which is to lead and be what the Creator said, that by all that husband unto the nation. So we have to understand this. And this is something we was talking about in our house. We just bring up some certain ideas sometimes and throw them at each other. But when we was looking at the story with Macau, right? And you look at this story with Macau, you have to understand, and this is my view, so you can interject with your own understanding. But David brought home the Ark of the Covenant. We got some more, passing out wine, bread to the people, celebrating Hanukkah. That's what it was called. It was actually in the Hebrew Hanukkah. He gave out gifts. He gave the bread, the wine, all that stuff. So he started handing out to people. David started dancing, you know, like a dog be dancing over here and getting down. Maybe a little better, you know. So maybe like your eyes here. So he started dancing and say he's dancing out his clothes, you know. So she's upset now. She gets upset. But you gotta understand, did she kind of have a point? It appears that she might have had a point. This man might be dancing out his clothes. We don't know how far it went. But she was upset and jealousy came involved. But guess what? The Creator cursed her. She was barren. She was put away and put aside because there were certain things, leaders and people that are people that's trying to build up the community can't have a certain adverse spirit inside of the house because it's not conducive for the movement of the nation. So submission and understanding, building up our people is very, very important. And our relationships are the foundation of all of that. And that's why the priest didn't have time to be with, oh, well, she's over there and the other brother's saying and this and that, and he used to be with her. The priest could have none of that. Continue.
Verse 10. The Kohen who was exalted above his brother, upon whose head the anointing oil has been poured or has been inaugurated to don the vestments, shall not leave his head unshorn, and shall not rend his garments. He shall not come near any dead person. He shall not contaminate himself with his father or his mother.
And let's go back because it says it uses Lishara'u, as far as when it talks about his relative, or that word is not really, it's just not relative. It means a cord, a bind, who you bound with. Umbilical cord, also dealing with the connection of genetically who you're connected to. But as that, your wife falls under that. Your wife falls under that. And there's a lot of different principles that we will have to go under because there's a lot of stipulations that we have to say, okay, what happens? You know, when the high priest died, or there's a lot of things that you have to ask, but this is what our sages already went through. They gave rules, explanations, breaks down, and interpretation of these things. And what the brother was speaking of earlier, Mr. Cosbio, is very important because a lot of times we're challenging our elders by knocking out their views that they already established for us. So when we say, okay, we don't accept the mission of Torah, or we don't accept the Mishnah or any rabbinical writings, then that means you would have to create a new foundational system to base everything off of, and you're not going to do it. So these arguments are going to be perpetuated to eternity. And you see it now. We've been arguing Talmud, Mishnah, Torah, all of this. Is it just Torah? Do we need this? Do we need any of these things? We've been arguing this for years, but yet still haven't established a foundation to govern ourselves. So even if we pull something or we destroy something, we have to be sure that as soon as you remove it, you have to put something right back in. As soon as you remove it, because there are explanations. There's a lot of stuff that in Torah that you have to understand. A perfect example, there's so many rules that we have to follow, and we just have to be very cautious. And that's why it's imperative for us to study this law. And if we build up, whoever we decide to build up, it has to be somebody from the younger generation that we set aside and say, this brother or these individuals, maybe 2, 3, however you do it, that these people, we're going to support them, and they're going to have to study diligently, and then the bulk of the decisions go upon them. So if they make a mistake, that's on them. That's why the leadership has to bring a different offering than the other people, because they are set aside to do it. It makes sense, right? What happened if you went into a doctor's office, and you went into one doctor's office, they got BET on there, no plaques on the wall, and then you go to this next office, it's quiet, got a little sympathy playing and everything, plaques all on the wall. Which one would you go to? The plaques. Why? Because there's a difference. The judicial system, the American society is established off the scriptures, meaning that those people had to devote their time into what they're teaching, devote their time into what they specialize in, devote their time into what they're bringing to our people. But in the Israelite community, it's not so, because a man who doesn't read scriptures, or maybe pick up the book on Shabbat, is equated to the man that studies the Torah every single day. And there is no differentiation between the two. And that has to stop. Because we're making decisions from ignorance. Want to stand up and say, well, I'm not that deep or well versed in it, but what I do understand is nothing, please sit down. It's true. Because you have to show me that this is what you do. You're studying this, you're dividing it, you understand the language, you understand the different patterns of the language. We have to train this next generation if they're going to get out of here, and if you want them to get out of here, or we can continue to battle our selfishness.
We are in verse 11. No, sleep down, verse 12. Oh, there's 11? Okay. Verse 11. He shall not come near any dead person. He shall not contaminate himself to his father or to his mother. He shall not leave the sanctuary, and he shall not desecrate the sanctuary of his power. For a crown, the oil of his head, anointment is upon him. I am the Most High.
Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. He shall not marry a woman, and he shall marry a woman in her virginity. A widow, a divorcee, a desecrated woman, a harlot, he shall not marry these. Only a virgin of his people shall he take as a wife.
So now, let's correlate this with the law. If you go into other aspects of the law, you see that only the laws that deal with women and marriage are dealing or pertaining to what? Virgin. But does it mean that it's only governing virgins? No. But what it is saying as a Hebrew Israelite, the best type of relationship is when you marry a virgin, and that is the standard of law. So it doesn't mean that the woman doesn't fall under, she's not a virgin no more, she don't really equate none of the laws. No, that's not how it works. But the Most High is setting a standard for us to be a priest unto the nations. And that's why it's imperative the way we look, the way we talk, the way we handle ourselves. Because we can't be Negroes out there in the streets and try to teach the people the message. You can't be out there cursing in the streets and trying to bring a message. Because there might be somebody that's seeking a spiritual life and they want to understand who you are, but they come in and say, well, in Christianity, I didn't curse. So automatically in their mind, they're turned off by your vulgarity and your lack of understanding on how to express yourself with a larger vocabulary. So that in itself might turn them off. And that's the thing. There's certain things that go on that are personal that you may do that you keep to yourself, and it shouldn't be to everybody.
Right.
Because people don't understand it. Somebody can say, they can come in here and say, oh, you drunk some wine or something like that, and say, well, I don't do that in Christianity. We don't do that. So you have to set a high standard on what you're doing and to draw people in, because we have to set the bar up for the Creator's people, and we have to be the light unto the nation. The nation going to come. And one thing I noticed when we was in Baltimore, they interviewed, I'm not trying to be funny, they interviewed church people. I mean, the man was sitting there interviewing everybody in the crowd. They even let everybody talk on the big forum and the big platform in front of City Hall, everybody in there. They interviewed the Crips, the Bloods, They interviewed the transgender. They interviewed a homosexual couple. They interviewed a midget. They would not interview the Hebrew Israelites.
Right.
They would. Not one Hebrew Israelite would they interview. And it was funny because we was out there, like, yo, man, you said, oh, man, you know, well, the company's saying this. Why wouldn't they interview us? Wouldn't we make good TV?
Yeah.
Like, but it's on. We're gonna say something that you gonna love. It's gonna make the ratings go up. But they don't want any truth to touch the air. Any other belief system was allowed. For some reason, on their list of people that can't talk is us. It's us. And don't think that list is just for the government. That list is all over. Do you know that your Hebrew Israelites, and I need help with this too because I need help. And Don Gabriel was helping me out with it. But do you know in jail, our brothers and sisters are not allowed to practice their way of life? They're not allowing them in jail. They are telling them, no, they can't wear the kippah, they can't wear this, they can't get certain books, they can't even do the holy days. They don't even allow them to gather. They don't even allow them to gather. From Oklahoma City, from Nevada, to all of these places where the jails are, the brothers are calling and saying the same exact thing. And then they look on the website and they call the numbers and all the brothers don't answer. None of the brothers respond to them. And they're like, we're not getting no help. And I'm even guilty of it at sometimes. Oh, brother, I got you, I'm gonna send this. And then he called me 2 months later. Hey, I didn't see the book. I didn't see this. Oh yeah, we have to do better. Because if it was Christians, guess what? There's a pastor in there, there's somebody that's standing up for their rights and helping them build as a people. We need to be better for our people and do more for our people. And the thing is, we can't do it because we're so busy being slaves. I forgot I've been busy all day. We slaves and we can't even take care of our own people. Go ahead.
All right. Verse 8. You shall sanctify him, for he offers the food of your power. He shall remain holy to you, for I am the Most High who sanctified you. If the daughter of a Kohen will be desecrated through adultery, she desecrates her father. She shall be consumed by the fire. The Kohen who is exalted above his brethren, upon whose head the anointing oil has been poured, or who has been inaugurated to don the vestment, shall not leave his head unshorn, and shall not rend his garments.
And see, the scripture is beautiful because it gives a special understanding. Like it says, and if the priest's daughter becomes desecrated, stone. That's too harsh. It's the way the scripture says. Certain things you got to get out your midst. Because guess what? It's happening all the time now. Whose daughters are worse? The priest, the preacher, the preacher's daughter is the worst. Yeah, they are the worst. And that's what we have to understand. That we have to do better and follow these laws and commandments. And our daughters, we have to go out there and we have to wear our culture, don't assimilate in any form, because assimilation is accepting their practices, their traditions, and their culture. Let's stand by law. This is why we create our own community. This is why we let women do things grow. We sit down almost every Shabbat. For the last 2 months, we've been eating meals together. For every Saturday nights, we've been spending the night together. Because the women are what? Controlling it. They are more social. They are gathering. They're not going to let you continue to do what you want to do in your separate mind. Let them work on the community aspect as we help build. The men give the law, allow the women to be the foundation and the government of governing this system, and allow it to go. And don't hold our women back because our views. Because sometimes we come home, the sisters come home from a sisterhood meeting, and they got all this, and the man is the one to tear it apart. I don't know if y'all can do that. Why? Because I'm not feeling it, and I said no. I don't see no progress in that. No, let's build. Let's build. We coming. The Most High we got a lecture in New York on June 21st. It's called The Mother's Intuition. And in the lecture, there's a couple of books that's about to be released and speaking on the power of our sisters. You know, and this is the beauty of it. You got to follow. Sometimes the women have that intuition. They have that gutsy feeling. They have something that they know about. They know about that you may not even know, but it's something in their spirit. They feel it. Yeah. You gotta follow that. You gotta follow. They gotta follow it. And that book will say what? Cleave unto your woman. I never understood that. I was like, why say that? Why would you say, come to me? Cleave to me. Because a woman has a connection with the Creator. And sometimes, intuition is being able to make an excellent decision without having the rational components to do it. Like, you just don't have the logic. It doesn't make any logical sense. It's just something. You feel it. It just knows. Because sometimes the Creator says, hey, I don't, there's no logic in front of you right now, but I'm about to give you something. Don't mess with that person. The sister, hey, every time you talk to the sister, they're like, I knew not to mess with him. I knew something in my heart told me not to mess with him. Oh, they say that all the time? Yeah, they know it. I knew something God should follow my gut feeling. Because Creator speaks to, He speaks to all of us. But and you got to understand, especially when a woman is ovulating, oh, she's king. She picks up on everything. She's it. And when she's menstruating, she's very intuitive. But a lot of times, women, when they're menstruating, that's their only time to have clairvoyancy or clarity. But when a woman is not close to God and she has that menstrual cycle, but same thing happens with menopause too. But when she has that menstrual cycle and she's not close to God, she's not really used to receiving the word of the Creator or picking up on other people's thoughts and stuff like that. So she becomes very emotional because she can't control her thoughts because they're really not hers. They're everybody else's. They're just the stuff that's just coming out of nowhere. Like, what's wrong with you? I don't know. I have no idea. Is that ability? Is that ability to pick up? You just picking up, or you picking up on a lot at that time, and that's why we know they separate and they focus on working on them because they can actually do a lot in that time and building themselves up. So the Creator just has so much to take.
He shall not leave the sanctuary, and he shall not desecrate the sanctuary of his Elohim. For his crown, the oil of his power, anointment upon him. I am the Most High. I think I'm ready.
Okay, let's go to
verse 12.
I want to go to hold on. Let's go to 23, verse 9, and read about the Omer, and we're going to close out because we're in the middle of the Omer. And I want you to understand that you are people that is connected to the universe. Because everything the Creator has you doing is associated with the symbolism of the universe, and you're attached to it. This is why you're a special people. Even you're traveling. When the Most High had you go through your Passover, it was during a certain time. You represented that time. You represented that. You slaughtered that ram. Then you brought forth the bull, which you were supposed to do away with. So the Almighty told you to slaughter that. That is the time and the system, the things that we have to do. And then the Almighty comes and He gives us the 2 tablets, which deals with duality and communication. That the Almighty communicated to our father Moses. Let's go to the Omer.
Hallelujah. Vayikra, chapter 23, verse 9. The Most High spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel.
Hold on, I forgot. I got one more slide that I'm supposed to touch on. Men do have oxytocin. I don't want you to think it's a female. I don't want you to go tell your friends only females get it, and somebody open up his book and make you look silly and say no. But men are completely different. There's one thing: men oxytocin make them more protective. So when they secrete oxytocin, they become more protective. And also, oxytocin in men, the love hormone approves the ability to identify competitive relationships according to the study. What does that mean? That a man, when he releases that bonding agent, or he's truly in love, he competes with other relationships. Y'all get what I'm saying? That man is supposed to acknowledge relationships that are good, and he is going to do what to his wife? He's going to compete, and he's going to be competitive. Because that's how men have. They have a competitive nature. We're competitive about everything, right? We're competitive when it comes out to basketball. How many times you see men get on the court and can't play a liquor ball? They can't play a liquor ball, miss the backboard and everything. But they want to win. So they say, well, brother, you don't shoot. You just go after the loose ball. The brother be diving on the floor because he's competitive. That same competitive nature is supposed to be what makes your relationship better. You be like, hey, man, see. The woman be like, hey, you seen, he bought a car over there. And you be like, well, baby, I'm going to get you an airplane. You know what I mean? That's what happened. You know, I'm gonna get your airplane. You pull it up like you land that airplane because you competitive. You like, hey Shalom, I like what you got your wife. But what happens though? That increases what? Society. It makes society better. Everybody's trying to do something great. Because that woman, she's bonded to you. She loves you to death. She loves you to death. She's gonna do what she has to do. You just have to let the oxytocin that you use for that sports that you like, that football, that basketball, that's really supposed to be for your wife. That's what that's about. When you love it, like, yes, your wife, she say, I cook for you, baby, like that, yes! Yeah, like, when they dunk on somebody, oh, you see that, what happened? My wife makes some lasagna. Like, yeah, put that on ESPN, you know what I mean? That's my lifestyle.
Verse 9. Moses spoke to Moshe, saying, speak to the children of Israel and say to them, when you shall enter the land that I give you, and you reap its harvest, the omer before the Most High to gain favor for you. On the morrow of the rest day, the Kohen shall wave it. On the day you wave the omer, you shall perform the service of an unblemished lamb in its first year, as a burnt offering to the Most High. Its meal offering shall be 2/10 ephahs, of fine flour mixed with oil, a fire offering to the Most High, a satisfying aroma, and his libation until shall be wine, a quarter hin. You shall not eat bread or roasted kernels or plump kernels until this very day, until you bring the offerings of your power. It is an eternal decree for your generations in all your dwelling places. Verse 15. You shall count for yourselves from the morrow of the rest day, from the day when you bring the omer of the waving 7 weeks, they shall be complete. Until the morrow of the 7th week, you shall count 50 days. You shall offer a new meal offering to the Most High. From your dwelling places you shall bring bread that shall be weighed, 2 loaves made of 2/10 ephahs. They shall be fine flour. They shall be baked leavened. First offering to the Most High. With the bread you shall offer 7 unblemished lambs in its first year, 1 young bull, 2 rams. They shall be burnt offerings to the Most High.
All right, let's stop. There's so much symbolism in this, and I want to stop with that because in it we have to understand that there is a correlation that we have, that we are special people connected to greater. Most High said, your nation should be like the stars, right? It should be like the sand. And that correlation, the word kokab in Aramaic actually means constellations and stuff like that. So when we see our people, we are a representation of the heavenly bodies. So when we move, we are, Most High said, and I shall make you a god unto what? Pharaoh. He said, you're going to be a god unto Pharaoh. So when we look at this, I said, let's take this, start taking the book serious. It's just a play on words. On May 23rd, which is actually that night, comes the Shavuot, right? This is a brother, I was speaking to him. It's a brother, he studies the stars, and he's very into it, in tune to it. So I was talking to him, and I say, I correlate the two Sirius, because you have the Jubilee, right, the 50th year, and if you didn't know anything about Sirius, Sirius is the star where they say all lights and everything came from, right? So in this, you have Sirius B that circles Sirius A, and it takes approximately what? 50 years. That's what we have. We have a 50-year Jubilee. Our Lord correlates and aligns with these things. So when you look at it, we also have the counting of the Omer, which is a cycle of 50. And where we at on May 23rd is the beginning. May 23rd, or about which where we at, is going to be Shavuot. The earth is in its orbit around the sun, reaches a point where the light of the sun starts to blot out the light of Sirius. In our reality of earth, it appears that the sun is traveling towards Sirius and blocking out the light. This starts a 72-day cycle. This is from a brother named Ampu. If you ever get a chance, you ever want his number, he's free to talk. He's very deep when it comes to this stuff. This morning, he was like, brother, wow, I didn't even look at it, because he's a practicing Hebrew, but you know, sometimes when you get the brothers that come into the way, they don't take everything. They take certain things. So it starts a 72-day cycle in which Sirius is not visible in the sky, and just may be the key of the 72 names of the Creator, which you see in some rabbinical writings and aspects that derive from the 3 verses that are comprised of 72 words in Exodus 14, 19 to 20. In essence, we are seeing the merger of our sun with its sun, which means we will have an influx of light for 72 days. So when Shavuot starts, it's the beginning of the period of an eternal light. In actuality, the peak of Sirius, where it reaches its height, it begins on July 4th, is why they correlate their little Independence Day with this. So when we understand that, you see, Anybody know, ever heard of the dog days of summer? Or why they call it the dog days of summer? Huh? Because Sirius is the dog star. And at its peak, it reaches it's completely in line. And they're showing you this how it looks on the 4th, which actually falls on the 3rd this year. So when we look at these things, and he says, now watch, now see, this is a text that he sent me, 5:23, is actually the brother that I was calling, it was his birthday. So he had no understanding of it. And then he said, take 72 words times 3 verses, and you have 216. It's my birthday. So he's saying, welcome to the Matrix, meaning that we're all encoded inside of the scriptures. This thing is happening, it's starting to play out where people can see themselves in it and actually what's happening. If you are keen to the scriptures is your prophecy. If you understand what I'm saying, that you can look at the book and know how to move in order to avoid certain things from happening and destroying us. So when we look at this, we see that, and you can look it up yourself, because the scriptures kind of alludes to it in many aspects. It mentions, it talks about Sirius in the book of Job. It talks about the different constellations. It's mentioned all the time because this is a part of our growth and understanding who we are. But we aren't supposed to be worshiping these things, these entities. People worship the sun, they worship the moon, they worship all of this, and they put all their reverence in it. But it just shows that we are, what happens in the heavens is basically a representation of what's going on with us. And this is what we're going to realize when we went to the ram, we sacrificed the ram. Then we went to the bull. Then we went into what the brother just said, the 2 loaves. And this is how you never hear him say it in the book, but this is how the Rabbanim, they correlate Shavuot with the Matan Torah, right? With the giving of the law. Why? Because it's 2 tablets in the time of what we call the technical terms of Gemini. Now these 2 times is creating and correlating the what? The right hemisphere, the left hemisphere, the brain coming together, and also the 2 lights, which are the lights of creative force. This is why when you see Moses receiving this divine law, he's very illuminated, because after Shavuot, we are in the time of enlightenment, and there is a time for meditation. Go ahead. Now, they will tell you this is a Shavuot meditation, right? I have a tradition from my master, the Baal Shem Tov, that whether Shavuot falls out of the same day on which our ancestors received the Torah and the time when they sanctified the moon according to the visual testimony, 1 on the 7th of the month of Sivan, according to the Rabbi Yassi, 2 that during the reading of the 10 Commandments, one should concentrate on a divine name derived from the verses. Open my eyes that I might behold the wondrous things in your Torah. Psalms 119:18. So when Shavuot comes, we are supposed to recite them. We're supposed to recite the 10 Commandments, because the commandments, what, 2? There's on 2 tablets. You know what I'm saying? You got one side that's dealing with the laws of God, which is the side of intuition. Then we have the side that's dealing with your brother and sister, which is the laws of logic. This is dealing with something that happens in our body during the time of Shavuot. We come in a time of enlightenment and freedom. This is why when you see these things happening in the scriptures, we have exoneration for this time. And the best thing to do is in other places, other tribes, which are the Dogon tribe. We heard of the Dogon tribe, we speak of them a lot. But the Dogon tribe is connected and intermingled with the Hebrew tribe. But they're an African tribe that also celebrate the same days and understanding as we do. But the thing with the Dogon is the Dogon say that their people, their God come from the Sirius, which is a fish. But we see in the scriptures that Dogon is what? A false deity, right? So they must have intermingled and interplayed with these foreign people, and they corrupted some of their science. But our purest science in the form, the aspect of everything we do have either scientific, astrological breakdown. So when we talk about the Torah, if you're not talking some deeper understandings, then we're not really grasping or understanding it. We're taking it as religion and certain concepts that's being pushed upon us without us understanding fully what it is. And this is what happens when we read. Sometimes we can be dangerous either in our reading, or we can be level. So the thing is to meditate and pray to the Creator when you're reading that He is guiding you to the straight path. And then sometimes from some of my brothers and sisters, we may be finding a term or a place of separation because we're not seeing eye to eye on things. But our place of separation is not a negative thing. It is something that is just everybody is falling into their calling. Everybody is going into their path, but the Almighty is taking them. So I could be losing my mind the more I read the scriptures, or it could be a form of enlightenment that is allowing us to come closer to the spiritual creator. And just like you have a calling that may bring you closer to the creator, some things that we have to do, but whatever it is, let's say it's not science. Let's say the science is a stagnated approach and we shouldn't do it at all, right? But what happened to the history? Do you know that the lessons that we give on history are still outdated history lessons? So it ain't that we stopped at science, we stopped completely doing any type of research because there's so much new historical information to prove the existence of Israelites, to prove how we lived, where we were in Babylon. You know they found over 50,000 scrolls in Babylon from an ancient Hebrew community that shows everything we did. Huh? You got it, right? Yeah. And so it's not, it's the stagnation, it's period in educating our people. We still say the same stuff Cohen Levy said, we say the same stuff Rabbi Matthew said, we say the same stuff other people say, but we're not building. Let's grow. So if we are more of a historical people, then guess what? Somebody please step up here and upgrade our information and history and present it to the people, because when we go out there, we're fighting and we're defending the name of the Creator, and a lot of stuff we were taught was just taught off passed down information. So now it's time for us to elevate all the things we're doing, and it's time for us to grow, and let us not stagnate each other because of what we feel or what we believe, but let us empower each other and correct each other, because there are times that as individuals we are wrong, but there is nobody that can correct themselves when they're not being corrected. So we are each other's brothers and sisters. So there are things, if you find flaws in the things that's being said, or anything that the young brother said, Mishare, anything that's being said up here, then bring it to the brother's attention, because guess what? I am honored to change anything that I see or my approach if it's right and it's beneficial to the community, and it appears to be coming from a pure heart and a pure understanding. So let us grow together. The other part of the parashat is dealing with the holy day. The main focus is the Omer coming down and the giving of the Torah, which we will celebrate the divine aspect of the Torah. You notice that the rabbinic always say that it was the giving of the Torah, yeah, but it never says that in Torah, right? But it's alluded to because of the time of year it is, and the 2 loaves of bread that represent the nourishment that nourish our people and feed us, because the Torah is supposed to be the bread of our survival. Once there is no bread of survival, there is no liberation for our people. Once people say, I gotta survive, you hear people say, I gotta feed my family, I gotta do this. Once you separate and take Torah out of survival, then there is no repentance for you. There is no redemption for you. Torah has to be the basis of survival, and we have to understand that. When you tell me I cannot work on the Sabbath and I try to go out into the regular world, I have a harder time surviving, meaning that I would have to create my own community in order for it to be a thriving and nourishing community. One brother would say, well, that's no problem for me. I never worked on the Sabbath. Well, that was a blessing to you, because I never worked on the Sabbath, and nobody should ever work on the Sabbath. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't have a community where all our people can do everything they want and still thrive. What if I said I wanted to open up a supermarket right now? Only how that supermarket will work is if we're a community, because the busiest day in the supermarket is what? The Shabbat. All of this stuff. What somebody said, I want to open up a restaurant. The busiest day in the restaurant is the Shabbat. All the things that we're trying to do, we want to build, we want to do all of this. Everybody got this business idea. She said, oh, I want to start my own security business. I said, that's beautiful, baby. But guess what? You're not going to get a lot of contracts. Because a lot of people want to what? Workers on the Sabbath. So it's like, oh man, everything we can try to do is not going to work unless it's in the community. So we've been stagnated. We've been poor. We've been hurting so much because we're trying to make America our loaves of bread that we're eating and feeding off of them. When we go into Isaiah 10:20, Most High says, when you break away from those who oppress you, then redemption will come. We can't keep on eating from the system and thinking salvation is going to come from it. We have to apply this Torah and make the Torah what? Our bread and butter. All praises and honor and glory to the Spirit of the universe. Y'all, my forefathers, the outline this stuff for y'all told. Thank you for the beautiful Sabbath day. Hallelujah. Let us all rise and face the east. Hallelujah. See, I don't know. And I done travel in lands that are not our own. On this road, a rough hill battle, and I am not alone. And so I realize this is not a home. Oh, my God, come help me. I have endured a lot of pain. This is slavery, but with a different barrel. And please don't think we're slaves. Remove the shackles from our brain. Leading me to the valley of the shadow of death, my destiny is in the presence of my King. Whoa, whoa. With him there is freedom. Please make us like you used to be. Hallelujah. All praises, all honor, all glory to the supreme intellect of the universe, Yahweh, my forefathers, Abraham, Ishaq, the way I call. Thank you, your merciful King, for the strength, the light that you have given us, O Most High. Deliver your people, give us the zealousness to become those who are an important nation, O great King, our sovereign nation. Allow us to return back into our land. Be with all those that call themselves Israel, O Most High, that are in the uprising in Israel, and protect them. And be with all those that are across the globe that are uprising, O Most High, protesting against these corrupt nations that have been oppressing us for years, O great and mighty power. Please hear our cry, O mighty power. For our children, we are losing our children on both sides. It's almost like death, O great King. But when they choose other paths besides law, O great King, we see the hurt in our hearts as we just lost some loved ones, O great mighty power. Please protect the generation that's after us. Give them zealousness. Give them the strength to survive and hold on, O great King. Allow them to understand your words and truth. Allow them to be educated by your Torah and your tools on the side that you put before them. Please, oh Yah, give us the light and allow it to emanate through our system and our body, oh Most High. Allow us to be able to heal those, oh great King. And by placing our hands upon them, oh great King, and giving them the strength to share some of that divine energy that we have, oh Most High. Restore those, oh mighty power. But there is no power like us to be the great mighty power. We have sinned and we are iniquitous people, oh great King. We ask that the Almighty, please hear our cry and forgive us for our sins. Remove the sins, and even the sins we did intentionally, oh great. And accept our offering of the mouth and our lips, oh great King. Hallelujah. 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 Amen. Shema Yisrael, Yahuwah Let's say a prayer with my song. Hallelujah.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei melech hazor. Hallelujah.
Hallelujah. Hallelujah. We'll start back here at 6:45. Hallelujah.
Watch out.